Good afternoon, everyone. The topic for discussion today is Sudraka's Mrichchhakatika and art of characterization. Sudraka's play Mrichchhakatika is remarkable not only for the innovative use of the stage machinery, theatricality, the plot structure, it is also remarkable for the art of characterization. So, along with the variety of incidents and a style pervaded by simplicity and humor, in this play we have the art of characterization of Sudraka that makes it a very powerful play. In no other Sanskrit plays do we find such a variety of characters as we find in Shudraka's Mrichchhakatika. So here we have a rich, diverse gallery of character, or rather a galaxy of characters, and are deservedly bestowed by Indians as well as Western scholars. They all appreciate Shudraka's art of characterization. Shudraka has actually painted a large number of characters, almost a cosmopolitan crowd. So in the play, we find learned Brahmana characters, a very, very rich courtesan, beautiful Vasanthina. We find the presence of robbers, gamblers, herdsmen. So even judges are there, and the royal rakes, they all cover the space of Mrichchhakatika. So with a very careful touch, Shudraka brings out the salient characteristics of each. And his greatest triumph lies undoubtedly in the creation of the villain of this play, the king's brother in law, Sakura, whose original name was Samsanaka. But the poet endowed this character with a kind of drawl and a lisp, and the expressive sobriquet of Sakra, Shah man, which is the title under which similar and familiar characters appear, and the playgoers during that period were familiar with such characters. So this Sakura is represented as an empty-headed fool, but the emptiness seems more put on that real. So he has that tendency to commit crime as well as to play the role of a fool. So here we have a fool villain combined together. So wherever necessary, he shows the devil's own depth of cunning and knows much better than a common fool how to look after number one. So this is, of course, the most interesting character, Sakura, and the entire play actually depends on the theatrical presence of Sakura on the stage. Charudda, as you know, is the Nita of the play, is another character set in a quite a different mold. So he is a lover, he is a handsome, ideal gentleman with a high sense of honor, famous for his charitable deed. So he has his past. He was also a rich businessman once upon a time, and now to whom the common consent was applied. So he is even called in the play with the title of Arya. Arya. That means a person of nobility. During that period, persons were revered by this address of Arya, the noble one. Then in the play, we have Vasanta Sena. Vasanta Sena is a courtesan by profession, but almost kulastri in her principles. So this is a combination of a courtesan character with kulastri. And we find that once her heart is attached to Charudatta, she loves him the more for his poverty, for his charitable nature. She even disdains to look at any other character, any other suitor. So many suitors are chasing her, but she doesn't look at any other suitor, not even to the royal person, Sakura, who is chasing her. We also have minor characters like Maitreya. In Maitreya, Shudraka has, of course, created a somewhat different type of Vidushaka. Usually, Vidushaka play a dominant role in Sanskrit drama, but this Vidushaka is of a different kind, distinct from the common glutton and fool. Actually, Vidushakas in Sanskrit play, they perform several antics on the stage in order to entertain the audience. But here, Maitreya is an honest, simple minded, and straightforward character. His blunders are the results of his simplicity and do not originate in a spirit of buffoonery. So he is a kind of character who is present like Plotine characters, the characters of Plotus. He is a faithful retainer of the patron Charudatta, a very good friend of Charudatta, suggested even by his name Matri. So to Charudatta, he clings through riches and poverty, sunshine and clouds, even sharing his joys and sorrows. Matri is ready to follow Charudatta, even in death. Another remarkable aspect of this play is that the minor characters, even the minor characters, the servant characters like Satavaharaka or Vardhamanaka, even the female characters who perform the role of slave characters or maids like Radhanika and Madanika, they also have distinct characteristics of their own, which make them live before us. In fact, in the play, we find that one almost fancies that the author has devoted as much care as portraying the slave character like Satavaharaka as to the delineating of this master like Sakura. So this character would obey his employer up to a certain point, beyond which he ceases to be a simple, pliant tool and even emerges towards the end of the play as a human being with a moral sense of right, moral sense of wrong, and he never hesitates to assert. So even with his humble position in the play, there is a moral sense of right and wrong, and he does not hesitate to assert, being even willing to sacrifice his life in an attempt to save the innocent Charudatta from being unjustly killed. Among these characters, we also have gamblers on the stage. Along with gamblers, the Chandalas, the assessors, in fact, all the different characters have been shown in the proper relief. Other authors, like say Kalidasa, appear to bestow all their care on their principal characters, dramatic personas. Especially in Nataka, like Abhigyanam Shakuntala, main focus is on the central characters, the hero and the heroine. And we find there is a neglect of the marginal characters. Even the variety is not there in Abhigyanam Shakuntala. Sudraka, on the other hand, gives a name, gives a minor characters meticulous attention. So we find several critics appreciating Sudraka for this excellent art of characterization. For example, Professor Levi has observed, I quote from Professor Levi's comment, each of the 27 personages who take part in the action bears a particular mark, a special trait, which strongly characterizes him. So Professor Levi's comment is especially interesting. And we find that this art of characterization almost resembles the art of characterization of great dramatists like Christopher Marlowe in The Jew of Malta or Dr. Faustus, or even Shakespeare, William Shakespeare, especially in plays like Twelfth Night, As You Like It, A Midsummer Night's Dream, where we have a galaxy of characters. So here, this is a special mark, a special trait in every character is bestowed by the playwright. Sudraka has been compared in this respect to Shakespeare. He has been compared to even Moliere. Moliere is another name remarkable for the presentation of character. And the mention must be made to Plautus, who is also famous for his art of characterization. As we have read, The Pot of Gold, where we have so many characters drawn from different sections, even the slave characters, minor characters, they are characterized in such a way that they become very interesting part of the play. So Sudraka has been compared with all these great playwrights of Europe, and he has already got an honorable place in the dramatic literature of the world. So he should be mentioned because of this innovative art of characterization, where we have flesh and blood characters with their own typical surrounding and background, but with their particular characteristics. So typical characters drawn from typical situations placed in this innovative plot and intriguing plot with their typical characteristics. So higher praise must be made to this art of characterization of Sudraka. So in spite of this skill and attention to the author, although there are several flaws in this conception of character, we find that he is basically using the conception of character in Prakaran. So in Bharata Muni's Natya Shastra, it has been stated that a prakaran, that is an invention of poets' imagination, will be representing characters drawn from society and placed in a plot that is an invention of the poet. So in this plot, we have characters drawn from different sections of the society, and they are presented in such a way that they contribute to the making of the plot. The minor characters and major characters all together contribute to the advancement of the play from the beginning through the middle to the end. And this allows the characters some space. The characters are marked by different registers, registers of their class, registers related to their caste, related to their religion, related to their vocation, and their personality traits are also individual. So we have this interesting variety of characters. They contribute to this rich gallery of character in Sudraka's play. The prakaran usually involves a central protagonist, usually a male protagonist called the Neta. And in this play, we have Charudda as the Dhrira Shanta type of hero, means firm, consistent, calm, moderate, temperate hero. And in the play, we find this person passing from one stage of misery and trying to overcome that state of misery through charity, and finally realizing one of the goals of his life to accomplish the love of Vasanthina. But this journey has also been very arduous or difficult for Charudda. But his firm conviction and belief in himself and in his choice, his firm faith in providence, firm faith in the life that he leads, also allows Charudda to lead a life of charity, of love, benevolence. He becomes a victim of circumstances, and Sakura, of course, draws him almost near perdition, towards death, by plotting against Charudda. Charudda has a simplicity that is usually not seen in the Roman comedies, where we have the hero presented as a clever man. This clever manipulative nature is not there in Charudda. So Charudda is a character with a difference. See, in Abhigyanam Shakuntala, we have Dushyanta as the central character, but the legendary type of heroic character that Dushyanta is does not resemble the unheroic type of characterization that Charudda is endowed with. But even in his unheroic character, we have a great sense of nobility, charm, and he is, of course, a person who is educated, who has the grace and nobility. Even in his impoverished state, we find Charudda pursuing or following arts, music, and even in his language, we find an excellent composer, the use of diction, use of poetry. So he has this imaginative sensibility of a poet. So Charudda belongs to that Dhira Shanta type, a soft hero who is consistent, who is calm, who is peaceful. His wife Dhuta is another important character in the play because of her nobility, because of her charm. She remains very close to Charudda, and in spite of the presence of Vasanthina as the other in their marital life, Dhuta has that power to to lead Charudda towards the right path, and Vasanthina is even accommodated towards the end of the play in the same marital family, in the same familial love. So we have this presence of Dhuta, who is ready to sacrifice her most precious possession, perhaps her only possession, the gold necklace that she has, in order to save Charudda from disgrace. You know, when the jewelry is lost, the jewelry that Vasanthina has kept in the house of Charudda for safety, that has been stolen, we find that Dhuta supports her husband by offering her most precious possession that she has, because the honor of her husband is more important for her than the mere golden necklace. So this she is a clay, and the most perfect form of clay that is ready to mold according to what Charudatta wants her to be. She is also a beloved mother, and we find that Rohasena is much attached to the mother Dhuta. So Dhuta's role as a wife, as a mother, is exemplary, and she, of course, has that aspect of Sita-like character. So who will be sacrificing her life for her husband and then grooming up the child with full honor and dignity. In the play Vasanthina, who is actually the Naika of a different type. So there are two possible types of Naikas that a Prakaran can allow. A Naika who is more homely, usually a wifely character, and another Naika who belongs to the court or the courtesan type character. So here we have the presence of both the characters. In Bharat Muni's Natya Shastra, it is said that these two characters, the character like Dhuta and the character like Vasanthina, should not coexist together on the same space. Okay, they may exist in the same prakaran, but they should not be brought together on the same space. Sudraka, on the other hand, has allowed the coexistence of Dhuta and Vasanthina within the single space, and even conversation is allowed between these two characters. This is Shudraka's progressive mind that has allowed Vasanthina some space even in this familial world of Charudatta and Dhuta. So Vasanthina is in love with Charudatta. She wants a space in the family, but she knows that her status as a courtesan will not be would not allow her to become a part of the family. Yet, because of her goodness, because of her essential nobility and benevolence, she is accommodated by the family. And Vasanthina is described as one of the most beautiful women of that place. She is being pursued by so many characters, but she shuns the offerings that are given to her by characters like Sakura. So she sacrifices the material wealth and comfort offered by the royal characters and pursues a person who has become very poor. Her love is very deep indeed. So this is a romantic love for Charudatta that is blind. And even in a state of poverty, Charudatta can draw the attention of Vasanthina, draw her admiration. Vasanthina too is totally dedicated and devoted to Charudatta. Therefore, we find that these three hero and heroines, they form, instead of a triangle of love, they form a kind of mutually agreeable, familial type of bonding. And through this bonding, the play achieves its positive ending. We also have the villain character. Villain character, usually in our contemporary cinema, we find that villain is punished. Even in the epics, the conflict is between the good and the evil, where the evil is destroyed and the characters who belong to the world of the evil are treated as villains. By the defeat of these evil characters, victory of the hero, victory of the good is established in Shudraka's play Mrichchhakatika. This is, on the other hand, changed by a new kind of reformist attitude, and this is done through the representation of Sakura. Sakura is not so intelligent, he is a fool. He does not know about the contemporary stories, myths, epics. He confuses a lot and is a humorous character, but also a character who is very consistent, adamant type of character. He keeps on pursuing Vasanthina. When finally Vasanthina refuses this man, in the garden, he strangles her, tries to kill Vasanthina. So this man has that villainy, and he wants to avenge the denial of love by punishing even Charudatta. So he concocts a story against this man, Charudatta, and complains to the court of justice, accusing Charudatta of committing a crime of killing Vasanthina. After this is revealed that Vasanthina is alive, and actually Sakura could not kill Vasanthina, although he attempted to kill Vasanthina, and Sakura attempted to kill Vasanthina, and Charudatta is innocent. When that is revealed, we find that he is accommodated, he is not punished. Even Charudatta appeals to the public, people, not to punish Sakura. And Sakura will definitely reform, and Vasanthina will definitely accommodate this Sakura within some kind of relationship at the end of the play. So we have the world of the justice through presented through the judges in the play. Even the judge tries to remain objective throughout. He is a person who wants to see truth and investigates in a very proper manner. He has an inclination towards Charudatta and takes into account the nobility of Charudatta while giving judgment. Yet he is um, not swayed by emotions only. He looks at the evidence that Sakura provides in the court, and finally, when Maitreya is caught with the jewel, and all the lines converge and point to Charudatta as the accused, he is convicted by the judge, and the judge gives death sentence. When Charudatta is taken for execution, we have the nobility of the Chandala characters. The Chandala or the executioners in the play, although they belong to the lower class of society, the Chandalas, they are the Shudras, they also show the nobility that is almost equal to the Brahmins, and the caste equality or inequality that is or was there during that period is presented through the nobility of characters. And we find that these characters who belong to the Chandala caste are also able to show their charitable nature, their uh, sense of justice. When finally the announcement is made that King Arakya has become the ruler of the land, and Vasanthina has come and stated that she is alive, the Chandalas do not go ahead with the prosecution. Remember, Sakura is trying to bribe the Chandalas to execute Charudatta, but the Chandalas refuse this kind of material offering. They are not corrupt, they are morally upright, and like the judge, they also stand by the evidence. When finally the evidence come, they do not kill Charudatta, they do not execute Charudatta. And thus, Charudatta, even in his final words to the Chandala before his execution that did not take place, Charudatta even pardons the Chandalas for their nobility. So this type of play that allows all the characters to coexist or peacefully coexist together. We have the transformation of a person to Buddhism in the play, and the person is helping Vasanthina, saving Vasanthina, rescuing her and bringing her just before the execution is to take place, thereby saving Charudatta. So all the characters contribute to the making of the plot line. Even the charioteers, two charioteers are there who, with mistaken identity, take wrong characters to the garden, actually perform an important role in the play. Therefore, in conclusion, we can say that Mrichchhakatika is a play where we have a rich galaxy of characters. The characters, in spite of their different traits, they are drawn from typical situations, typical vocations, typical markers are there, and they perform very important role in the play. The characters are flesh and blood characters. They are presented as living embodiments rather than flat characters. They contribute to the plot, and with their presence in the play, they make the play very entertaining. The popularity of Mrichchhakatika must also be attributed to the excellent art of characterization by Sudraka. So this is in short, I have spoken on the art of characterization of Sudraka in Mrichchhakatika. Now, if you have any questions, you can please raise questions so that I can discuss and clarify your doubts. I went a bit fast so that the lecture becomes more easily comprehensible for you.